Good afternoon and welcome to VetNet. My name is Jason Dozier, Manager of Plans and Operations here at Hire Heroes USA. I'm joined by our esteemed veteran transition specialists, Danisha Montgomery out of our Alpharetta office, and our new Los Angeles office manager, Ryan Delatter, currently in San Diego, but getting ready to embark to Los Angeles pretty soon. And today we'll be talking about resume writing. And before we get into the class, I just want to remind everyone out there who's watching that we do these classes every week. We have classes on resume writing, interviewing, networking, the whole 9 yards of what you need to do to be successful in your job search. And this partnership has been going on for the last 2 years. We are currently partnered with Google and the Institute for Veterans and Military Families at Syracuse University. So we strongly recommend or would appreciate if you would either follow us on YouTube, follow us on Google Plus, and follow our partners at the IBMF and the Chamber of Commerce if you want to learn more about how to become an entrepreneur, how to network with some of the businesses that are out there. So without further ado, Danisha and Ryan, go ahead and take it away.
Ryan?
Thanks for the intro, Jason. I'm happy to be here today, and I'm hoping that you guys get a lot out of this particular class. I think it's a really interesting and a great presentation because it gives you some real insight into the thought process that goes into writing a professional, high-quality resume.
And to piggyback off of what Ryan said, yes, the resume is that first point of contact for reaching out to an employer. So before they see your face, before they smell your perfume and cologne, before they look into your eyes, they get the resume. So you want to make sure that resume really speaks to who you are, what your contributions are, and what you're going to bring to the organization. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at Katy Perry's resume. Apparently, she got mixed reviews on the Super Bowl performance. Some liked it, some didn't. So she just wants to have a backup plan in case she's no longer a performer. So we'll start with the header. The header, which is just your name, Katy Perry. Do not include nicknames. And also, social media plays a big role into job searching. So you want to make sure that your name also reflects what your name is on social media outlets like LinkedIn, which is a business professional tool. And also, if you're using Facebook, which we might get into that a little bit later, but you want to make sure that your name reflects what's on your resume as well as on your social media so employers can find you. Also with your address, you see that's pretty self-explanatory. You have the street address, the city and state. For those who are applying for out-of-state positions, you may want to leave the address off because some employers, they get a little hesitant when they see an out-of-state candidate because they may think that that candidate wants relocation to be paid. Also, if they're looking to interview someone quickly, bring them in, speak with them, have them meet with the other hiring managers, they may be hesitant to reach out to someone who's out of state. So one tip is if you're applying for out-of-state positions, you can leave off your address. Ryan, what do you think about that?
No, I completely agree. Sorry, our lights are on a timer in this room. But
they can't come back on.
No, if you're in the range of the local area that you're applying within, it's a great idea to leave your address on there. And just like you said, if you're applying outside of the local area, the last thing you want is to be automatically excluded for a position before an employer even gets to look at your qualifications just because they see you're outside of that local area. So it's a great idea in that case to leave it off.
In regards to the telephone number, that's also pretty self-explanatory. Make sure that you do not have a ringback tone. The ringback tone is when someone calls you. So if Ryan were to call me right now, he would hear music instead of just a regular ring tone, like a regular just ring. So based on my experience working in talent acquisition, many recruiters and hiring managers, they find those ringback tones annoying. Some of them can be insulting based on the music choice. So if you can, just go ahead, remove that ringback tone off. And a lot of job seekers, they don't even know that they have that ringback tone on their phone it's becoming pretty much the standard now for some cell phone companies to just automatically add that feature on. So take the extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes, contact your carrier, check to see if you have that ringback tone activated on your line, and remove it. Because again, you want to make sure that everything you put out there is professional. So you don't want some kind of, it doesn't matter what the genre of music. It could be classical, it could be hip hop, it could be rock, it could be Katy Perry. So you just want to make sure you remove that ringback tone and just leave a standard ring. And the email address. So Katy Perry has Baby You're a Firework, because we all know that song, it topped the charts. But we want to make sure, again, it's all about the details, all about that professional image. So in this instance, I recommend a professional email address with her name, katyperry@gmail.com, because Gmail is the standard. Activating or signing up for email address is free. So Hotmail is something that can date you, in a sense. It's an older email client, email engine. So we just want to use something that's more up to date, and Gmail would be the industry standard for those email addresses. In case katyperry@gmail.com is taken, then go with katy.perry@gmail.com. katy.perry. You can put an initial, p@gmail.com. You want to stay away from dates. Katy Perry would not want to put Katy Perry 1982@gmail.com. Age discrimination exists. So we want to stay away from anything that may give someone an idea of your age, your race, sexual orientation, anything like that, even religion. So stay away from katyperrybaptist@gmail.com. Not because there's anything wrong with it per se, but we just don't want you to be excluded for something like that. Ryan, have you seen that on resumes before, or have you had to give that advice to any vets?
Oh, absolutely, on the telephone number and the email address. And I mean, one added benefit also of designing an email address just strictly for your business communications is that it allows you to stay really organized. So you're not going to lose critical business-related and job search-related emails in the midst of all your other personal emails. So I think it's a good thing to do.
That's a good point. Next, we're going to go into the professional summary. So the professional summary, now this is really the meat of the resume. This is going to be the 10 seconds that a hiring manager gets your resume, learns what your brand is, what you have to offer, what your expertise are, and just some additional information that speaks value to the position you're applying for. The reason we say 10 seconds is because the recruiter is not going to read word for word what's on your resume. They are scanning it for key things. So for example, if you're applying to an event planner position, you want to highlight things as in your coordination skills, your relationship building skills, maybe your community outreach and involvement, your creativity. So if those are things that recruiter is looking for, you want to make sure you highlight it in that professional summary. You want to speak the language of the hiring manager. So we'll take a look at Katy Perry's. So she's an event planner, effective at delivering high quality design thought process. Not really selling us on why she would be a great event planner per se. So we want to go in and we want to start with the event planner position because that's what she is applying to. And we could say event planner and military veteran, offering 10 years of experience in event coordination, special event, relationship building, and fundraising. As you see, she's listing out what her expertise will be in that position, the value that she brings to that position. Also, she states that she's a high achiever, producing results in emerging market trends. We can go further. We can talk about exactly how she did that. Give us those quantifiable details. What were the results? Did she enhance markets or sales by 10%? Did she increase sales by $100,000? So it really shows the scope of what your achievement is. So also you'll see, I forgot to mention that Katy Perry is bilingual. So that's something you want to state off the bat because it gives you an edge. Not everyone walking into an event planning position or applying for that role will speak multiple languages. That'll give you an edge because now you can communicate with multiple customers instead of just the English speaking customers. Ryan, anything to add on that?
Those are all really, really good points. Like you said, just quantify, be specific, talk about measurable results, as opposed to using adjectives to describe yourself, because adjectives, they're basically, they equate to opinions, they leave things open to interpretation, and that's not what you want to do. You want to just talk about your actual measurable results. It leaves no question in that potential employer's mind that you can do what they're going to need you to do in the position that you're applying for.
That's it. The bullet points below the professional summary speak to your expertise. And these bullet points, the information you see in there, for example, total client focus, contract negotiation, business revenue growth. Those phrases or expertise are also complementary to an event planner position, and they're also buzzwords within that job description. So again, you want to speak the language that the hiring manager is putting out there. If they say they need it in the job description, you want to match them and say, I have that. If you want me to have total client focus, I have that. If you're looking for someone with contract negotiation skills, I have that as well. So list that as in, I am an expert in contract negotiation. I am an expert in sales operations. I am an expert when it comes to innovation and creativity. So really step back for a moment, read that job description carefully, and take a self-inventory of your skills. Really evaluate, do I have budgeting and tracking reporting experience? Think about your previous jobs. Project management, have I coordinated any projects in the past? And what were those results? Did we exceed the amount of people that we needed to show up to the special event? How much did we improve memberships? How much did we improve revenue and retention? Those are things you want to take into consideration and you want to talk about it. And below we have usually it's our professional experience. So on Katy's Perry resume, she has listed her work history, which in my opinion, it sounds kind of blah. She has professional experience, not just work history. So with her work history, she has that, she worked as a counter manager, she's worked in a spa as a spa therapist, she's worked there in different locations, which is great because she has international experience. But the presentation of her work experience, again, just doesn't sell and showcase what she's accomplished in her roles. That's the main thing of what the resume does. It doesn't just list, oh, I did a job. It talks about you as an achiever. This is what I achieved in my role. So in her work history, she states that she recommended and sold facial products and body products. She performed a skin analysis, used certain kind of technologies. So we're going to take that a step further, and we're really going to sell what she did because she's not giving herself enough credit. So we can speak about her managing people, her leadership skills, how she was able to achieve retail sales goals of $1,700 per day, which is a large amount, and it's quantified. It's that number that allows us to say, oh, not only did she increase sales, she increased sales by this amount. Also, she was able to build clientele. That goes into that relationship building. Speaks about the organic skincare company. It resulted into 5 new vendor stores. So now we're talking expansion, which companies want to make money and they want to save money. We're talking about making money because once you start expanding, that means there's a demand for the product and a demand for the service. She's facilitated and trained 30 people. So she's now able to train people to duplicate her success and to go out and make more money and save money and build a brand. She also led clients on tours. So now this talks about her hospitality skills, her ability to relate with people regardless on their background. She can work with diverse clients. She's maintained product orders, stock levels. Now we're talking inventory management. So she has a large category of just skills, and all these skills are related and adding value to that event planner position that she's applying to. So when an employer and manager, when they look over her resume, they can see how she's been placed in positions and she's better, basically clientele, better market position within the organization. And something else you may have noticed is that the work history that was listed on her original resume, it was chronological. So with the chronological approach, it shows your most current position down to your previous position. We felt it was appropriate to list her resume in a functional style, which focuses on the skills. We felt the functional style was the best format for her due to her gap of employment. If you noticed, her last job ended in 2009. So we didn't want the red flag to go up from a recruiter seeing her resume in a chronological approach and noticing, wow, she hasn't worked in 4+ years. What's going on? So instead of showcasing and advertising 2009 on the resume, I felt it was appropriate for us to showcase and advertise her skill sets, her management, her sales operations, her inventory management, her customer service hospitality. What do you say, Ryan?
I think that was a great decision with this particular resume, like you said, because you, rather than detract from the valuable experience that this candidate has with those gaps in employment, you're instead focusing on what they bring to the table that make them a potential asset in the position, which is exactly what you want to do.
You see more so the chronological approach, I would say 8 times out of 10. However, there are times when the functional resume is going to be best. In this case, because of the gap of employment. Also for our military spouses, because they're following their service spouse, from coast to coast, sometimes internationally. So there may be that gap of employment because they're having to move so often. So we'll use the functional resume for those individuals. Also, there's a time when you may have so much experience in different industries. You might have experience in IT, retail, logistics, and healthcare. So if you just want to advertise or showcase your experience that's relevant to the job you're applying for, you could use a functional resume. For example, if you have all of those experiences and you want to focus on the logistics position that you're applying to with, let's say, Lowe's, what you'll do is you could create a functional resume and you'll list your logistics, customer service, supply chain, training and development, shipping and receiving experience there, because again, it speaks directly to that logistics position and it adds that value. Next is going to be our education section. So Katy Perry, she has a lot of good experience, but also she has some experience overseas. So for those who are unfamiliar with the school system and just their educational structure there, we thought it was best that we now basically, you could say, Americanize that experience where it was easier to translate. So she had an event planning certification that was more recent. That was in 2014 through the Correlations Personal and Professional Training Development Program. So since that's most relevant and most recent experience to the event planning position, I felt it was appropriate to bring it above her professional experience. Ryan, what do you say? Because usually people hide that education and professional development experience on the bottom of the page or the last page. In this instance, I thought it was relevant to pull it up because it's most relevant.
Yeah, I agree with that decision in this particular case. If it's the strongest overall piece of their experience, and it's recent and it's directly relevant, and it kind of really overshadows a lot of the professional experience, it's a great idea to bring that up so it captures the immediate attention of the reader, because if you do have it at the bottom of the resume, there's always that chance that the reader's not necessarily going to make it that far, all the way down to see that really relevant educational background. So it's a good idea, and it just kind of goes to show you can really arrange the resume however you want, to put the focus on your biggest strengths.
And this is your time to shine. You don't want to hold back on the resume. If you have the experience, if you have the education, you want to put it out. You want to put it out front. You don't want to bury it onto the second page, because more so than not, your resume is going to go through a computer screening process. After that, then it goes into the recruiter's hands, and that's when you have that 10 seconds to impress that recruiter, that manager with experience that you're going to bring to the table. So burying that education on the second page, I hate to say it, but most times the recruiters don't make it to the second page. So you want to just pull all the stops, up front. And also, there are certain things that you always want to avoid, because I know you're looking at this resume format and you're thinking, well, so-and-so told me to make it look this way, and then someone else at the Department of Labor said my resume format should look like this, and USA Jobs, their resume looks nothing like this, so why does your resume look so different? This is a format that we use here at Hire Heroes. It's been proven to be successful. We are able to confirm and mentor veterans to employment quickly within months by using this format, which again just showcases the talents. But there are things that you have to stay within if you want to be seen by a recruiter. There are certain rules that you just cannot break, and that's typos. You want to make sure your resume, every word is spelled correctly, the grammar is correct, because recruiters get so many resumes on a daily basis for positions, on top of just their other job responsibilities. So imagine working at one of the top do-it-yourself home improvement companies. You post a job opening at 8 o'clock in the morning. By noon, 500 people have already applied to that position, all in the same day. So with that many submissions for one job posting, recruiters and managers are looking for reasons to disqualify people. Typos is the #1 reason of people getting disqualified for a position. It also shows you're not detail oriented, in a sense. You're applying for whatever position, especially administrative positions. You want to make sure that you spell the words correctly, no typos, and if it helps, have someone else read it. Have a friend, family member take a look, and as your veteran transition specialist, Ryan and I will be happy to take a look at your resumes before you send them out, because we want to make sure that you don't get the job in the sense that you got edged out, not because you had multiple words that were spelled incorrectly. So we want to make sure you get the job. That's what it truly boils down to. Secondly, we talked about it in the heading. We want to ensure that your name, your email address, everything is just professional. You don't want to give off an unprofessional appearance, because again, you're going to be a representative and advocate for the organization you're applying to. They want to make sure who they're bringing in is a good fit, and also that they uphold a standard of professionalism. Ryan, what do you think about the professionalism, the typos? Have you had any, have you look over any resumes from veterans who say, you know what, I'm not getting any callbacks, I'm putting in 200 resumes a week and no one's calling me back and you get it, and it's just, I mean, all kind of words are misspelled wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Grammar, spelling errors. I've seen plenty of that, and there's really just no reason for it these days. I mean, first of all, you have spell and grammar check and Microsoft Word. Of course, that's not going to catch everything because you could have words that are spelled correctly, but they're just used in the wrong context, and the spell check's not going to catch it. But that's what, as Dee was explaining, the second set of eyes is for. And just to reiterate, what she said, as your veteran transition specialist, we're here to be that second set of eyes and to ensure that your resume has no mistakes before it goes to whatever hiring authority that is. A couple of other things you want to just make sure that you don't do in your resume. One is you want to make sure, while you definitely want your resume to be tailored for a specific position, you do not want to be copying and pasting experience directly from a job posting. I've definitely seen that a handful of times, and among many reasons why that's a bad idea is the person who is going to be reviewing your resume, if you were to use language directly from a job posting for that company, they likely reviewed or wrote that job posting. So they're going to immediately recognize that. It's a big red flag, not in your best interest to do that. And just one final note, while this is your time to shine, like Dee said earlier, it's not a time for modesty by any means. You want to put the spotlight on your biggest professional achievements to show why you're a great candidate. But what you also want to just be careful of doing is not to exaggerate your experience. Highlight your experience, but definitely don't exaggerate any of your experience.
One thing that some vets have an issue, or they just have a lot of difficulty with, is translating their skills. So with this resume, it was a little easier based on the experience that this spouse had in regards to what she was looking for in a position. But for those who may be coming from an infantry position or coming from a government of civil affairs position, it may be hard to translate in civilian terms what you did in the military. So that can then cause you some stress and just some frustration. There are some very, very good tools out there. ONET is one of them. I know Home Depot has a great military translation tool to where you input your MOS and job title and also your rank, and it'll auto-populate in civilian terms what you did in that role. And of course, you still want to personalize it, because the ONET and the military translator, they don't know you as well as you know yourself. So you want to make sure you take that time, personalize those experiences, and add those achievements when you were in that role. Also, you have me and Ryan to fall back on if you have any difficulties with coming up with some achievements and just some responsibilities in your role in the military. Reach out to one of us. We'll be more than happy to help you, think about it. We can come up with some great standards, but then we'll have you elaborate on that, because the more we can really specify what your contributions were and we can get that on the resume, it'll again speak to the job you're applying to. Also, it gets you more confident to talk about yourself once the interview comes. So now, instead of sitting there humming and humming, trying to think of, oh, what did I do in that role? What did a time when I had to overcome objection, or I had to work in a stressful environment. Now you'll be able to glance at your resume and pick up on, oh yes, I can speak to that confidently. These points will help guide you to what you need to speak about in the interview, and just yourself. You'll be surprised how much experience you have. And like Ryan said, don't try to be someone you're not. Don't try to lie and falsify the information on the resume. You have the experience. So all we have to do is just dig deep and apply it to the resume. So you've seen the before and after of Katy Perry's resume. If entertainment doesn't work out for her, I think she'll be a great event planner. I think she can do it. Ryan, anything else you want to add to it?
The only thing I just kind of want to comment on is it's always amazing to me to look at the comparisons from the before and the after, and I think this is just a great opportunity for people watching this presentation to see the thought process that we use when crafting these resumes, and I just love seeing the side-by-side comparisons. I mean, some of the information was there in the original one, but this one is just so simple is probably the wrong word. I think elegant is probably a better word. Just the way that the information is displayed, it just makes a lot of sense. It's easy to read, it flows, it puts the focus on all the right things, and I think this was a great example.
Good. Well, thank you all so much for attending today. Again, if you need any assistance, my email address is on the bottom. Ryan, I think yours, it might have fallen off, but that's okay. We can find you in case someone needs to reach out to you. But for sure, if you ever have any questions, if you're struggling in your job search, if you're having a difficult time trying to write that professional summary, don't stress it. Allow us to support you on that professional summary and just your resume revision. We can teach you how to tailor your resume. We know the questions to ask to really bring out who you are and what you're looking for in a position and why you are the best candidate for that role. So we work with you. So that's why Hire Heroes exists, because we know that you have the experience to where you'll be successful in the corporate environment, or if you want to continuously work in the military sector, we know that you have the skills to get the position that you desire and that you deserve. So thank you so much.